On a day when students across the country remembered the Columbine High School shooting and walked out to protest gun violence, panic once again erupts at a Florida high school. A man walked onto campus and shot a 17-year-old student. That student was hit in the ankle. He's going to be okay. And guess what? Police caught the shooter.
It happened around 8:30 this morning at Forest High School. That is in southeast Ocala, about an hour and a half from Orlando. Deputies say the suspect is a 19-year-old who does not go to the school. The school resource officer heard the shot around 8:39. He was at the scene 3 minutes later and arrested the man who did not resist. Investigators have not released a name or a motive, but say the shooting was not an accident.
And I want to make something clear, and I want to assure the Marion County residents that today they should be proud of their first responders. I commend also the school system for their protocols in place, because what they put in place saved lives today.
The school was put on lockdown and students were taken by a bus to a nearby church where their parents were able to pick them up. The Marion County School District says students were not cleared to participate in today's walkouts.
Now, today marks 19 years since the Columbine shooting, one of the most horrific school shootings in the U.S. Unfortunately, we've seen far too many similar shootings at schools and other public places since then. Thousands of high school students peacefully protested across the country, calling for stricter gun laws. Many wore orange, the color now linked to the battle against gun violence. Today's walkouts were the second since the massacre at Stoneman Douglas High School. At Tampa's Plant High School today, two different demonstrations. They were held today. According to the Tampa Bay Times, students for gun reform, they met on the football field. Students supporting gun ownership and the Second Amendment rallied around the flagpole. In Pinellas County, St. Pete students walked out of their school to a gun reform rally at City Hall. We caught up with one of these student organizers.
The way I see it, I may have planned this event, but the people who really gave it power are all the ones that came out. So seeing all these voices and seeing all these people who are coming to voice opposition to this major issue and actually register to vote so that their voices will be heard is inspiring and empowering.
While walkouts and rallies happening across the state are going on, you would think that young people in Florida are registering to vote in record numbers. Some recent numbers show that is not the case. But 10 News reporter Shannon Valladolid discovered local adults are hoping to change that.
Raymond Curvon has been to many rallies just like this one.
Are you registered to vote?
I'm registered to vote.
Thank you very much.
Helping Florida students who want to see change. He's been educating teens after deadly mass shootings like Columbine, Sandy Hook, and Parkland.
They've come up to me and say, thank you for what you're doing.
Curvon, along with many other volunteers.
Anybody need to register to vote? You can register 16, 17, 18 years old.
Are striving to make this the year to stand out. They want to see voter turnout among youth ages 16 to 25 skyrocket.
Definitely, I do believe that young people are very motivated to vote.
16-year-old Isabella Myers signed up for early registration.
I really am excited to be able to vote when I am older.
Many of the students that are out here today say because of organizations making it so easy for them to register to vote, they're more inclined to do so. That's why they say they need more rallies just like this one to get voter registration among youth up.
But despite volunteers getting students registered, this chart by the Tampa Bay Times paints a different picture. Broward County, where the Parkland shooting occurred, has fewer new registrations from youth 16 to 25 compared to 4 years ago. Same for Duval County. Hillsborough, Orange, Palm Beach, and Pinellas are just slightly up. But state and local leaders like U.S. Representative Charlie Crist and St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Kreisman are confident the numbers will rise.
Oh, I think it's just going to grow and grow and grow. They get this. They understand what's happening.
I think that's going to change, and I think you're starting to see it, and this is a great example today.
In St. Petersburg, Shannon Valladolid, 10 News.
In Littleton, Colorado, home of Columbine High School, some people stopped by the memorial dedicated to the 13 Columbine victims. The high school was closed as it is every year on April 20th. Students and community leaders and members are urged to spend the day in service.
Well, the search is on for a motive after 2 Gilchrist County deputies were shot and killed while eating lunch. Now, this took place yesterday at the Ace China restaurant located in Trenton. The Gilchrist sheriff says the deputies were eating lunch when the suspect shot them from inside the restaurant. The suspect then shot himself in a car outside the restaurant. Today, the sheriff called the shooter a coward and is warning everyone that there is no official online funding site established for those fallen deputies. So don't fall for anything. If you do want to help, you can donate to the Drummond Community Bank. 10 News reporter Candice Avilés has been learning more about the 2 deputies that were gunned down. And Candice, what do you know about these 2 heroes?
Reggie, it is clear the 2 deputies were highly admired within the Gilchrist County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff, Bobby Schultz, described them both as men of integrity and loyalty, calling them the best of the best. Let's start with Sergeant Noel Ramirez. He was 30 years old and a 7-year veteran. Schultz says Ramirez had an infectious smile. He previously worked for the Williston Police Department and Levy County Sheriff's Office before joining Gilchrist in 2016. Ramirez was married and leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. Well, now to Deputy Taylor Lindsay. He was 25 years old and a 3-year veteran. Schultz says Lindsay loved to stop the flow of illegal drugs and that he was very active and part of the bench press team that competed in the First Responders Olympics.
I knew both of them personally, and I can sit here in front of all of you and tell you that I loved them. And they were loved. And I met with the families today. I told them that they could be proud of those men. They could be proud.
Now, Sheriff Schultz went on to say the only thing these men were guilty of was wanting to protect you and me. Ramirez and Lindsay are the first line of duty deaths in Gilchrist County since Sheriff Mark Reed was killed back in 1956.
And we're staying on top of this story as new information is released. We'll share it with you on air and online at WTSP.com.
Former First Lady Barbara Bush's body lies in repose today at St. Martin's Episcopal Church in Houston. Today, a steady stream of people paid their respects. Bush died Tuesday at the age of 92. Her funeral is set for tomorrow. The White House says that First Lady Melania Trump will attend Saturday's funeral, but that the president will not. 2 news alerts that might have caught your attention this afternoon. Dance music star Avicii has died at the age of 28. The Swedish DJ and producer is known for songs like Wake Me Up and The Days. He was found dead in Oman. His death comes just days after he was nominated for a Billboard Music Award. The Democratic National Committee is suing Russia and the Trump campaign, saying they conspire together to help President Trump win the 2016 election. The DNC says this all began when their computer systems were hacked. U.S. intelligence agencies say Russia was behind that breach. And the DNC says Russia used the stolen information to undermine Hillary Clinton's campaign. The lawsuit also names WikiLeaks, Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and several other associates of the Trump campaign as defendants.
The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office says they fired a detention deputy for using racial slurs to describe inmates and creating a hostile work environment. According to the Sheriff's Office, Deputy George Lopez told his white co-workers, quote, "Well, there are a lot of N's on this floor." The Sheriff's Office says that Lopez referred to inmates as stupid N's and said that the N words behind the gates need to control themselves. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office says that the white deputy then told Lopez that he was offended by his inappropriate language. The deputy told Lopez not to use the word in his presence. They say Lopez repeated the word multiple times and directed his aggressive behavior towards that deputy. Deputy Lopez worked for the Sheriff's Office for 4 years. He was fired today. Right now, deputies are looking for the woman who attacked a school bus. You heard right. Video shows a woman stopping in front of the Hillsborough County school bus and getting out and walking to the folding doors, banging, then kicking on the door. Now, what you can not hear are the profanities that deputies say she yelled while attacking the school bus. The bus driver naturally refused to open the door. About 10 seconds, the angry woman then walks back to her car and drives off. The bus was nearly full of special needs students coming home from an exceptional center.
The kids were definitely in fear. That was remarks made by the deputy responding to the call for service, advised that all the children were on board screaming, crying. And although we do have the registered owner identified, we're in the process of trying to identify the actual driver of the car and make sure it's the registered owner.
The bus driver doesn't know why the woman was upset. Deputies looked at the entire video and also can't determine what triggered that. In all, she did $250 worth of damage, and again, they know who owns the car. But if you recognize this woman in the blue scrubs, call deputies so they can wrap up this case.
Law enforcement officials released new information about this grandmother accused of killing a Bradenton woman to steal her identity days after she allegedly killed her husband in Minnesota. A tip led to 56-year-old Lois Reese in the Texas resort town of South Padre Island. She was arrested inside a restaurant. Police say she befriended Pamela Hutchinson in Fort Myers. Hutchinson's family tells the news press that Hutchinson was in Fort Myers to visit a friend. Police say Reese shot and killed Hutchinson with the same gun that she used to kill her husband. They say she then took Hutchinson's credit cards, her driver's license, and her car.
We look at her appearance. She looks like anybody's mother or grandmother, yet she's an absolute cold-blooded murderer.
Reese's husband was found shot in their rural Minnesota home in late March. Investigators say Reese had a gambling problem, which may be what led to these murders.
As for the victim, Pamela Hutchinson, her ex-husband tells CBS News Hutchinson moved to Bradenton last year from Virginia Beach. A memorial service will be held in her hometown of Whiteville, North Carolina. Well, family members. As you can see, it's all hugs and kisses this morning at Tampa International Airport. Loved ones met the group with signs and tears, and a lot of these soldiers have spent months overseas in Afghanistan, Qatar, and Iraq.
First time seeing him in a long time?
Yeah, 8 months.
How's it feel to have him in your arms again?
He's a lot bigger than when I left, that's for sure.
This ain't the first deployment, but I have many more to come, and I just like coming home to see my family. You know, it makes me want to do what I'm doing.
Now, the soldiers are part of the U.S. Army's 4th Joint Communications Squadron.
Boy, you hold on and you just don't want to let go. Great to have you home.
God bless them all.
Take a look at these newly released NASA images of Southwest Florida. Look how lush and green it is on the left compared to how drab and bare you can see the vegetation there on the right. Scientists say Hurricane Irma stripped these mangroves at 10,000 Islands just south of Marco Island. They were studying how mangroves evolve over time, so they shot a photo early last year, and then months later after Irma hit, they took another photo in December. About 60% of the areas they were studying were heavily or severely damaged, leaving leafless trees, broken branches, and uprooted mangrove trees. Amazing when you see it side by side.
Yep.
A prescribed burn was to blame for tying up traffic on I-75 that really hurt the morning commute.
It's already tough enough out there. The interstate was closed between Clark and Laurel Roads in Sarasota County for about 6.5 hours. But what goes into authorizing a prescribed burn, and what went wrong this morning? 10 News reporter Isabel Mascareñas is getting those questions answered.
It's a rare sight, a 10-mile stretch of I-75 closed both ways. But smog, thicker than what is seen in these photos from Forestry this morning, led to the closure and frustration.
Awful, horrible,
terrible, very bad, 20 minutes delay.
Well, it's not fun.
They're right here, and I-75 is right here.
A 200-acre controlled burn by the Division of Forestry on private land yesterday afternoon was given the green light hours earlier. The burn went as planned, but in the middle of the night,
our winds last night ended up being a little bit calmer than they were forecasted for.
And what did that do?
It allowed the smoke to just settle in place and not blow away from the interstate as was projected.
Forestry Duty Officer Brett Steffen authorizes hundreds of burns a year.
They range between 30 and probably 70 a day.
A computer program calculates conditions across the 5-county area.
We put in the time, and then we put in the type of burn that it is. This one, like I said, is an acreage burn of pasture land. The green area of the circle is actually where the burn area will be taking place, and then all this gray area is where the smoke will affect, or the smoke will go. This factors in the size of the burn, the time of day, the wind, the humidity, dispersion, and it gives us a smoke plume.
Steffen shows us a fire he approved today. It appears to get close to the interstate.
So that smoke will be rising up and will clear over the roadway, so it won't actually impact the roadway.
Steffen says sudden changes in weather conditions are rare, and these prescribed burns are necessary.
We're taking away the available fuel for a wildfire.
In Sarasota, Isabel Mascareñas, 10 News.
Forestry officials say acreage burns are approved hours out, so they are close to the most recent weather information possible.
Bobby, it's so strange to see I-75 like that. No cars, and then obviously you understand why.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you may remember years ago when we had a big issue on I-4, big pile up, all kinds of problems there. Same setup. We had smoke on the roads, and they showed you pretty well in that video of how it sits low in the morning. I want to take you to where that particular fire was. There's the Tampa area, there's Sarasota. This was actually down by Venice on the stretch right there around Venice, east of Venice, where it turns from west to east there. And you can see that arrow, that is the wind arrow throughout the day. So the wind started out of the east. You remember that program he showed you, where's that smoke plume going to go? And it had it going south-southwest. Well, then the winds turn, and that's the issue, especially anything along this I-75 corridor and places back out towards the west. We feel the sea breeze, and that's what happened. We started with an easterly wind, it turned northeasterly, and then watch as the day goes on. That's this morning, that's midday, and then that's the afternoon. So now that smoke gets blown all over the place. So they want to time it for when they're going to have the most fire, meaning the most smoke, and which way will those winds be going at that point. Same setup for tomorrow as far as the winds go, and through the weekend we're going to go more southeast to south winds, especially by Sunday. Now outside right now, beautiful shot of the Tampa International Airport. That's southwest side there. That's from the Renaissance International Hotel Plaza. 80 degrees, 63-degree dew point. That's kind of getting up there, but we have a front coming through the area. Look at the temperatures in Crystal River. Now, it's not major at all. 79 in Crystal River, 84 in Riverview, 86 in Bartow, but it's slightly cooler and just slightly drier. I mean, the dew point in Tampa is at 63, 64 degrees, 56 in Gainesville. That's noticeable. If you're outside, you'll say, it feels a little bit better outside. We just are not going to see a big shot of dry air come in here. So I think we're going to stay right about the same. We don't have any rain with it. It's a completely dry front that comes through. Satellite and radar, you can kind of see some of the front coming through. It's stalling out right across the Bay Area right now. Just washes out, nothing big. But because it's in this area and because it's not going to push any further to the south, bringing drier air, we're actually going to see some afternoon showers and thunderstorms over the next couple of days. Tonight, Friday night looks fantastic. Nice and dry all the way through. 70s for the most part. Upper 60s to near 70 just to get the day started. It's going to be a warm start to the weekend. And then here it goes. This is 7:15 tomorrow morning. Northeast winds turn to the east. By about 1 to 2 o'clock, yeah, we can see a pop-up shower north of I-4, but it's 5, 6, 7 o'clock. We're going to be watching for some showers and storms along and west of I-75. This is kind of summer-like, although I don't think we'll see the coverage, but the timing will be similar. Late afternoon, early evening for some showers and storms, and then they'll fall apart. Kenny Chesney tomorrow, we are going to have to watch for some of those showers for all the tailgaters in the concert itself. This is 3 o'clock on Sunday, good in the morning through the afternoon, and then Sunday, there's more moisture, there's a little bit more heat. We're going to have a better chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the afternoon. Just think summer. So when you're outdoors this weekend, you know as you get later in the afternoon, you need to start looking to the sky and start checking our app for the radar. 84 as we get into tomorrow afternoon, 83, 84, and then I went about 85 on Sunday with a better chance for rain. Monday actually brings another front and our best chance for rain. We're going to bump that up to about 80%, lots of clouds around, and then we'll go upper 70s to low 80s and dry most of next week.
We want to hear your say, Tampa Bay. St. Petersburg is renaming a library after President Obama. The change was made officially yesterday by City Council, but the change is not sitting well with a lot of you. It's stirring up some controversy like most stories relating to politics. these days, of course. So log on to WTSP.com/YourSayTampaBay or tap the Your Say section of the 10 News app and let us know, should public buildings be named after current political figures? Cast your vote and we'll go over the results at 5:30.
A missing Georgia teen found 2 years after he vanished.
The story of a teenager found after he was missing for 2 years is being shared all over social media tonight. Aubrey Jace Carroll was 15 years old when he was last seen May 24th, 2016. He was leaving his Georgia high school when he just totally vanished. Turns out Aubrey is fine and left on his own terms. This is him today at the age of 17, compare him at 15. Then just this week, he joined the Spalding County Sheriff's Office in a Facebook Live video announcing he was found.
Well, I'd like to tell y'all, thank y'all so much for all your prayers and looking out for my mama. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm all right. I'm okay. I've been smiling, and y'all should do the same.
Now, his family pleaded for help to find Carroll for years. They even held a vigil January 11, 2017 on his 16th birthday. So where has he been for the last 2 years? According to the Spalding County Sheriff's Office, he was touring the country.
Wow.
Mostly the West Coast and Midwest. He was part of a group of barterers who traveled across the country and only used cash. Now, the sheriff says Aubrey seems to be happy and thriving. He was just ready to finally come back home.
Oh, I can't imagine for his family when he finally walked through the door. So the family says they want to send a message to families of other missing teenagers. Do not give up hope. So questions about a local library officially named after former President Obama. A controversial name change for the St. Petersburg Library is now official. The building is getting a $6 million upgrade, but it is the new name, President Barack Obama Library, that has a lot of people talking about this one. So the library is on 9th Avenue at 37th Street North. The name change was announced by Mayor Rick Kreisman in February for Black History Month, but it was just formally approved last night by St. Pete's City Council.
Like any story involving recent political figures, this story got a lot of comments and generating plenty of arguments on Facebook. Now, some of you think this is a great way to honor the country's first black president. Others don't think he contributed enough to the country or specifically to the St. Petersburg community. And there are others who suggest staying away from living people when looking for a namesake. We want to know what you think. Should public buildings be named after living political figures, or should we stay away from names that could lead to arguments like the ones that we're seeing now? Go to WTSP.com/YourTampaBay and let us know. Meanwhile, 10 News reporter Bo Zimmer caught up with one of the city leaders behind the new name to see what she thinks about the backlash.
Well, first of all, we're whispering because we're in the middle of the St. Pete Public Library.
That's right.
But,
we have to use our quiet voices.
Exactly. Here with Deputy Mayor Dr. Kanika Tomlin, and you and I, we grew up in this library.
Yes.
Right around over there.
That's right, in the children's section. Yeah. You know, always such a special place.
Yeah. This library is so special to a lot of people in St. Pete. Why did the city want to name this library after President Obama?
Because it is one of our most special, most sacred places. So this library really belongs to all of us. We all have our corners of the community that we call home, where we mostly reside, but there are a few places that are cross sections of our community that really bring us together, and we think this library is one of them.
That being said, you did get a lot of pushback. You got some emails.
A lot of the pushback was regarding the thought that it was partisan, perhaps, or political, which we disagree with. As much as it's about Obama, it's about the role he plays in our nation's history. The fact that he was this nation's first African-American president is such a significant accomplishment. We thought it was a chance to really acknowledge that progress, how far we've come as a community. We hope that people will walk into the Barack Obama Library and feel the power of possibility and understand just how much anything is possible and how the library can contribute to their goals.
Now, the new name also could result in partnerships with other presidential libraries across the country.
Yeah, and Reg, there's a huge conversation about this going on online. Hundreds of reactions and almost 200 comments. Let me read just a few of those. Venice, your comments stirred up the most reaction online today. If honoring a man of distinction causes you to be disagreeable and disrespectful, then this library will serve you well. Come and learn about the history of events that made it all happen. Shane, you pointed out no connection to St. Pete. Name it for someone who contributed, perhaps after the education secretary, attorney general, governor, or sitting congressman. Mary, you agree, saying, I'm not against Obama, but I think a more local head of literacy would have been a more perfect name. And Deb suggests waiting to name streets, buildings, schools, your firstborn, etc., after politicians and other famous people for at least 100 years after they die. Well, that brings us back to the question we've been asking you at WTSP.com/YourSayTampa Should public buildings be named after current political figures? So far, about a third of you say yes, and 66% say no. There's still time to vote and join in. Just head to our Facebook page as well. Just search 10 News WTSP.
It's the sound of frustration for so many of you. A ringing phone with some local or random phone number, and it turns out to be a solicitor.
We've all had those robocalls, and if you think you're targeted more often, you might be. Florida ranks number 3 for the most robocalls received last month. Tampa Bay ranks 17th. 10 News reporter Garen Flowers shows you ways that you can silence those calls.
Seems like this is the one person always willing to check up on you. Robocalls. This is funny, but it's no joke when a company keeps calling and harassing you, even when you tell them to stop. The UMail Robocall Index tracks all the unwanted calls dialing out nationwide. The company says in March alone, there were 3.2 billion robocalls. That's about 10 per person.
It's become such a big issue because companies and now even scammers are using this technology to contact consumers in the masses.
According to UMail, Florida had the third highest amount of calls, 244 million last month. Brian Oglesby with the Better Business Bureau says just don't answer numbers you don't know.
In addition, if you receive these calls, make sure you document these numbers, label them on your phone, so if you receive future calls, you know that's a sales call or a scam call coming into you.
Many of the calls, even from legit companies, break the rules. If it gets bad, you might consider reaching out to an attorney.
But if you can find out the business that's calling you, it's important then to tell them in very clear terms, be polite, tell them to quit calling you, this is your cell phone, and to take you off their list.
Jeffrey Palmer with the consumer protection firm says once you do that, you could be entitled to money if they don't stop.
And a minimum of $500 up to a treble damages of $1,500 per call.
Great advice. Also, there's the National Do Not Call list, as well as the Florida Do Not Call list. Subscribe your number to those, and it could help. In addition, you can submit the numbers from those unwanted calls to the Federal Trade Commission. Lastly, you can just block the numbers, or ask your phone provider to do it. Garen Flowers, 10 News.
There are also some apps out there to help control robocalls, apps like Truecaller, Haya, and Nomo Robo. Nomo Robo. Say it 3 times. Another called UMail is a free service that tricks robocallers into thinking you don't exist. I got to make sure I get that. But it can be difficult for the apps to spot and block all robocallers who are constantly changing tactics and changing numbers to get you to answer.
I'll believe it when I see it, Reg.
Yep.
I get them all the time. They're annoying. So it's official. Federal regulators are slapping Wells Fargo with a $1 billion penalty. This is for abuses tied to its auto lending and mortgage businesses. The fine comes after Wells admitted last summer that hundreds of thousands of customers were sold auto insurance they did not need or did not want. If you're one of the customers who's affected, you are going to get reimbursed as part of the settlement. The company also has to make improvements to risk management and compliance. Today is April 20th, Reg, known as 420 to some.
420?
Yeah. Over the years, this date has evolved into an unofficial marijuana holiday. So 10 News reporter Phil Buck is looking into pot's status in the U.S. and how it might be changing.
Look, it's no secret, okay? Weed is officially big business here in the U.S. And despite the efforts of his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who still wants to see federal crackdowns on marijuana, President Trump seems to be taking a decidedly pro-business stance on legal marijuana, which now has even conservative investors saying, look, I got 5 on it, all right? Let's take former Speaker of the House John Boehner, who was firmly anti-pot when he was in office. Well, he joined a cannabis industry investment company earlier this month. Apparently, Mr. Boehner realized that he could make more money by selling weed than he could by fighting it. Now, let's take the states that are selling it legally. They have collected more than $1.5 billion in taxes since their legalization program started, and that's not even counting California, which just launched its legal sales earlier this year. Medical and recreational weed sales will hit more than $11 billion this year, and that's expected to go up to $25 billion in the next 7 years, okay? How about jobs? Want to talk jobs? More than 120,000 people are already employed in the industry, which is just expected to continue booming. And none of that includes some of those secondary pick and shovel businesses that are also getting in on the green rush.
From death row to freedom, wrongly convicted former inmates share their stories.
Imagine being wrongly convicted of a crime and sent to death row. For 3 people who spoke today in Hillsborough County, that nightmare was a reality. 10 News reporter Eric Glasser shows you how their cases could help form a new review panel in Hillsborough County aimed at correcting past mistakes.
Spent 18 years in prison, 12 of those on death row.
For years, Sabrina Smith, Ray Crone, and Randy Steidel sat in prison, counting down the days to their execution for crimes they didn't commit.
No physical evidence, no forensic evidence tying me to the crime, and I had a corroborated alibi. And I went from the comforts of my home to death row in 97 days.
Can you imagine sitting in a tiny box like that, knowing your death date, and nothing you can do about it?
The judge sentenced me to death. At the time, I was supposed to show remorse. How do you show remorse for something you didn't do? How do you apologize for an act you never committed?
The pitfalls of wrongful prosecution was the focus of a workshop for local prosecutors and law enforcement hosted by the Hillsborough State Attorney's Office, identifying common threads in cases where innocent people have been punished.
Cooperator testimony, changed witness testimony, prosecutorial misconduct, which unfortunately happens sometimes in the system.
Hillsborough State Attorney Andrew Warren says it's another reason he'd like to create a conviction integrity unit in his office. Fact-based reviews of past cases to make sure people haven't been wrongly prosecuted.
We're not infallible, and so we make mistakes, and it's important to study those mistakes to do our jobs better.
There's over 160 of us that are documented that spent time on death row. We're the lucky ones. We don't know how many were not as fortunate as us.
I want what happened to me not to happen to anyone else. And I want them to change the justice system. It needs an overhaul.
Hearing such personal and horrifying stories is a stark reminder, says Warren, that while justice may be blind, it is not perfect. Imperative to not only get convictions, but get it right. In Tampa, Eric Glasser, 10 News.
Warren says he intends to start a conviction integrity unit in his office sometime this year. It will probably start with 1 prosecutor, 1 investigator, and 1 staff member at a cost of about $300,000 a year.
All right, guys, we've got a gorgeous afternoon out there, even with a cold front coming through the area right now. We're looking off towards the southwest just a little bit here. Most of what you're seeing here is on the west side of the sea breeze, so the clouds will be back out behind me here. So that's why it's nice and clear. 81 degrees, dew point 64. Winds out of the west now. That's the sea breeze at 9 miles per hour. Pressure's falling just a little bit, but it's nice and it's about where we should be temperature-wise for this time of year too. Lower 80s for most areas, especially along the coast. A little bit warmer inland. Bartow at 86. We're looking at about 83 degrees in Mulberry Lakeland at 82, but 70s in Citrus and parts of Hernando County, and that's behind a cold front that is sinking southward through the area. But you don't see any rain on the radar, and I don't expect any, at least not today, but tomorrow will pop up a few showers. There's the front right there. Clouds are starting to dissipate as well as we lose some of the daytime heating slowly today. But this will kind of fall apart because it's here. Number one, we don't get a lot of cool, dry air pushing in, so we don't change the atmosphere that much. And number two, it is a little bit of a boundary that's going to be in the area to help spark a couple of showers and a thunderstorm or two for tomorrow afternoon, but nothing for tonight. So if you head out tonight, 9 o'clock, 74 degrees, partly cloudy skies. We've got a meteor shower this weekend. Tonight and tomorrow night, that's nice to check it out because we are going to be looking at clouds thickening up Sunday into Sunday night and Monday. But it's going to be a mild night. I mean, we're going to wake up tomorrow morning in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. Then we talk about that rain chance. Now, most of Saturday looks good until you get after about 1 to 2 o'clock. It just isolated north of I-4. But the best timing really is going to be about 4, 5, 6 o'clock. And we're going to have to watch I-75 and points to the west. And it's similar to a summertime setup. We'll be warm, we'll be kind of muggy. We'll get afternoon showers. There's an easterly wind all day, but along the coast it turns to the west with a sea breeze, at least it tries to. That's why we're popping up some of these showers. I don't think it's quite as widespread as what you're seeing right there on the model, but I do think we're going to have to watch for some showers in that area. It includes downtown Tampa, St. Pete. Yes, Kenny Chesney. We're going to have to keep an eye out for that as well, too. Saturday night, after that, we're fine. And then Sunday, the first half looks good. Sunday's a little bit more moisture and heat in the afternoon. So that's about 6:45. Yeah, better chance for showers and thunderstorms, mainly backed up along the coast for your Sunday afternoon. And then on Monday, we actually have more clouds and a better chance for rain coming through. So weekend is not bad. In fact, it's just think summer because 83, at least it's not that hot, right? 83 on Saturday with a 30% chance, 85 on Sunday with a 50% chance. The mornings look good. East winds for our boaters trying to get to the southwest. More wind in the morning than in the afternoon. So that's pretty good, 10 knots or so. Moderate chop on the bay. Kenny Chesney, as I mentioned, about a 30% chance for a shower. I'll be out there, so don't get mad at me, but we are going to have to watch it. And don't forget the allergies. Yeah, they're going to stay in that moderate to high level all the way through the upcoming weekend. Now, better rain chance on Monday, isolated left over on Tuesday. Most of next week looks pretty good, guys.
Thousands of marches across the country. For the second time since the Parkland High School shooting, students are calling for stricter gun reform. Today's marches coincided with the 1999 Columbine High School shooting. And Alex, we've seen this event play out all over social media.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching walkouts from high schools all across the country. And when you think about it, these are a majority of kids who would have otherwise not known what it's like to participate in their democracy or even just protest, right? At the basics. But we also saw a lot of that right here in the Bay Area. Let me start with #NeverAgain movement leader and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School student Cameron Caskey, who tweeted, so proud of the National School Walkout and all of the students around the country who are standing up for positive change and demanding what we deserve. Keep marching forward and never settle for less. This group of students had just left St. Pete High School and were walking right up to City Hall, where they had been protesting, shouting, "Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like." Representative Charlie Crist joined those students from his alma mater. He encouraged people to honor with action Columbine victims with common sense policy to end gun violence. He also led the walk across the street to the Supervisor of Elections office, along with Mayor Kreisman, to register or pre-register eligible students to vote. Students chanting here about NRA-friendly politicians, vote them out. Now, protesters are calling for several changes to gun laws. Some of the main points include banning assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, and bump stocks. They want mandated universal background checks and a minimum age of 21 on all gun purchases.
Red, white, and blue. Two kids get a reunion they won't soon forget. When Captain Adam Brown decided to join the military, he knew it was going to be hard on his family. The Browns have moved 6 times in 11 years.
Adam spent 194 days in Iraq. Today, he's finally back. 10 News reporter Bobby Lewis out on the road in South Tampa, where a military dad made 2 surprise reunions.
He said he wasn't nervous. But Captain Adam Brown has waited a long time for this. He spent the last 9 months in Iraq, dreaming of what it would be like to hug his little boy.
Oh my God!
Hey, bud.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Hey, man, how's it going, bud?
Andrew
I missed you.
missed this too.
How you doing, man? You look good. You ready to go home? Get your stuff.
Family reunited.
Absolutely. I think I got him.
I had no idea.
Surprised you?
Yeah,
What's it
definitely.
like to hug your dad after 9 months?
Oh, it's been a while, so it feels good.
And those good feelings weren't done.
It's good to see you.
9 long months erased. Alexis Brown is a bit of a daddy's girl.
I missed you.
Who has daddy back. This surprise took a month to plan.
Did you know? Come in. No.
Captain Brown missed out on memories. A birthday, a football season, and a swim season. But today,
They just got me 10.
he'll never forget.
How's that feel to have dad surprise you like that?
Very good.
Very good. Had no idea, did you?
No.
On the road,
I had no idea he was coming home.
I'm Bobby Lewis, 10 News.
That's awesome.
Takes your breath away.
I can feel that one up here in the throat. It's amazing.
It's always good to have him back. Captain Brown hopes that this was his final deployment. He has served in the United States Air Force for 11 years.
We hope so too, so you can be with your family. The Brown family plans to spend this weekend doing everything together. Promises of free coffee fool the internet.
Ooh. We're staying on top of this story until your questions are answered. This man is accused of beating up a Lake Wales police officer, and they say he came to the United States illegally. And just last year, Marcelino Jimenez Cruz fought a Polk County deputy and a sheriff's office canine.
So the big question we are getting is why he wasn't deported after the first violent run-in with law enforcement. This is what we have learned so far. A clerical error at the sheriff's office might have prevented Jimenez Cruz from being reported to ICE back in 2017. But we also know that he's been in and out of the jail in Polk County since 2010. Well, the sheriff says in at least 4 cases, he reported it to ICE. Several of those crimes were nonviolent crimes.
In the past 10 days, there have been 49 foreign-born inmates booked into the Polk County Jail. That's a small fraction of the roughly 1,000 total inmates booked into the jail during that same time period. Now, the sheriff's office tells us it sends a list of foreign-born inmates to ICE every day. 10 News reporter Grady Trimble spoke to ICE today and shows you why not everyone who's here illegally gets deported.
When we mess up, we fess up, and we fix up.
One day after a public apology from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, we're digging into documents provided by his office. The sheriff first blamed ICE for not deporting Marcelino Jimenez Cruz a year ago after he attacked a deputy and canine. Judd later discovered Jimenez Cruz's name was never sent to ICE because of a mistake on his booking form. The form incorrectly says he's from the U.S.
And that's on us.
This document lists the dozens and dozens of inmates the sheriff's office has held for ICE since 2015. You'll notice the sheriff's office did transfer many of them to ICE. Still, the document shows ICE dropped some of the holds. It's not clear why. ICE tells us it continues to focus its resources on people who check these 3 boxes, if they pose a threat to national security, public safety, or border security. But ICE can deport anyone who's here illegally. Taking another look at this document from the sheriff's office, you'll see many of the inmates whose ICE holds were dropped committed nonviolent crimes. Jimenez Cruz doesn't fall into that category. ICE says it has a detainer on him and will pick him up after he serves his sentence. In Polk County, Grady Trimble, 10 News.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office tells us it voluntarily sends that list of foreign-born inmates to ICE every day. We know several other sheriff's offices in the area do the same thing, including Pinellas, Pasco, and Manatee County. And we're going to keep pushing for answers to your questions about the case. We'll post the latest on our 10 News Facebook page, and you can join the conversation.
We're staying on top of the Trenton ambush shooting that killed these two Gilchrist County Sheriff's deputies. They were gunned down while they were simply having something to eat in a restaurant. Today, the sheriff released a statement calling the shooter a coward and clarifying that the shooter walked into the Ace China restaurant in Trenton before killing the deputies and taking his own life. Originally, it was reported he shot the deputies through the window. They're also warning you not to fall for any fundraising scams. The only place to donate for the deputies' families is Drummond Community Bank. 10 News' Candace Alvilez has been working to learn as much as she can about these deputies. And what did you find?
Well, let's start with Deputy Taylor Lindsay. He was 25 years old and a 3-year veteran. Schultz says Lindsay loved to stop the flow of illegal drugs and that he was very active and part of a bench press team that competed in the First Responders Olympics. Now to Sergeant Noel Ramirez. He was 30 years old and a 7-year veteran. He previously worked for the Williston Police Department and Levy County Sheriff's Office before joining Gilchrist in 2016. Ramirez was married and leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. Sheriff Schultz says both were men of integrity and loyalty. Another member of the team had this to say when asked about the suspect's motive.
Whatever those facts determine, we will never find a reason for what happened to Noel and Taylor, period. They were on duty, they went to eat. So again, whatever facts are determined, those will be made available later on.
A candlelight vigil will be held tonight in Newberry. Sheriff Schultz went on to say the only thing that these men were guilty of was wanting to protect you and me. The Gilchrist County Sheriff's Department is a tight-knit community. According to the department's website, there are 14 full-time deputies in the patrol division.
You know it had to be one of the worst experiences of their lives. The passengers that were on board that Southwest flight that had an engine blowout are getting paid. Southwest has given them checks for $5,000 as well as a $1,000 travel voucher. They also included a letter saying they are valued as a customer and that they hope they will give the airline another opportunity to restore their confidence in Southwest. Southwest wasn't commenting on how the passengers are getting compensated, but they did say the communication and gesture are authentic and heartfelt. Experts believe Southwest could face tens of millions of dollars in legal damages from passengers aboard Flight 1380. The NTSB is investigating whether metal fatigue on a fan blade contributed to the jet's engine blowing apart. Shrapnel smashed a window. Passenger Jennifer Reardon died after she was sucked halfway out of the plane.
We've seen this happen far too often. People are getting stopped at airport checkpoints because they have weapons in their carry-ons, and travelers can fly with their firearms, but there is a right way to do that. Today, TSA gave a demonstration at Tampa International Airport on how to travel with firearms. They explained that the right way is to pack it with your belongings and what you need to know before taking your flight.
Before you book, you need to check with them to make sure that you can take your firearm with you. After you purchase your ticket, you need to make sure you pack it the proper way. And when you get to the ticket counter, it's very important that you declare that you're flying with that firearm. If you don't, then they need to be notified. If they don't know that you're traveling with a firearm and it comes down for security, we'll call them to see if you declared it. They'll have this declaration card that you put on the inside. If you don't declare it to the airline, you can get in big trouble.
Make sure to check all the rules before booking your ticket, and when you get to the airport, immediately declare that you are traveling with a firearm at the airline's ticket counter.
There's a hoax making its way around the internet. This time, it's in connection to the arrests of 2 black men at Starbucks. Video of the racially charged incident went viral and set off a week of protests. Starbucks CEO apologized to Rashawn Nelson and Dante Robinson for how they were treated. Employees are getting anti-discrimination training, and thousands of Starbucks locations will shut down on May 29th for that training. Alex, this of course has been all over social media. A lot of people are talking about it, so really no surprise that we have this hoax.
Yeah.
But there are a few variations of this hoax, right? So the first one is they look like coupons that essentially say African Americans can get free coffee. One version of the voucher is said to have a hate-filled prank crafted by white supremacists. It features a QR code that, when scanned, reveals the N-word. I'm not kidding you, it's terrible.
All right, so Starbucks, of course, has come out and said that these coupons are not legit.
Right, but even that has led to another hoax, Catalina.
Oh, so it never ends, okay.
It never ends. So it's someone made up this fake statement from the Starbucks CEO. It says it started as a hoax, quote, perpetuated by Russian internet trolls, but the feedback was so positive they want to make free drinks and half-off beverages a reality for all customers. Do not fall for this one either.
More than 100 people feeling a little bit better tonight when it comes to keeping your identity safe. That's because they took advantage of a free shredding event this morning in Newport Richey, put on by the Better Business Bureau, 10 News, and Cadence Bank. And boy, was this easy. Folks didn't even need to get out of their cars. Bags and boxes of papers unloaded for them, and soon all of those important documents were hoisted into a shredding truck. People could also bring in computer equipment and other electronics to be safely recycled. There's more than 100 years of history on the campus of our School of the Week.
It's been nearly 120 years since they first opened their doors.
A lot has changed over the years, but the one thing that seems to have stayed the same is the student body's school spirit. 10 News reporter Sean Stryker found out how alumni are helping students at our 10 News School of the Week remember the past.
In just a few weeks, the 117th graduating class of St. Petersburg High School will collect their diplomas.
We have generation after generation after generation of students that go here, get kids that whose great-grandparents, went to school here, and that's the family tradition.
Many of those alumni donated memorabilia from their time at St. Pete High back to the school. Yearbooks, school papers, class rings, and Letterman jackets, all on display.
It's really interesting because I know in a bunch of our classes we go on school tours and we see different aspects of the school that has been here forever.
Over the years, the school has seen a lot of firsts. When the current building opened in 1926, it was the first $1 million school in the country. Then, in 1983, it was the first school in Florida to offer IB classes.
It's a very, very rigorous program, but students walk out of that with, some of them, close to 2 years worth of college finished.
And whether a student takes IB classes, runs track, performs in the band, or cheers on their classmates, they all seem to support each other.
Our service clubs have their own traditions, our school itself has its own traditions, our football team has traditions, and so they all just kind of combine together and everyone takes a part in this, so we have this togetherness there.
Coming together to help create their own traditions for future generations. Sean Stryker, 10 News.
If you would like for us to feature your school, send us your nominations to 10schools@WTSB.com.
So, Bobby, tomorrow morning we have the Best Buddies Walk.
Yes.
Ryan is going, I'll be there,
Yep.
and our great friend,
Rosie.
she's going to be there, so we can't wait to see her.
It is a fantastic time. Weather looks fantastic. Kind of warm, and I want to say kind of muggy because we're talking upper 60s to low 70s, but dry. So no worries about rain, and I emphasize that because we will see a rain chance as we get into tomorrow afternoon. So
Got it.
Let's talk about that in your forecast. Headlines: afternoon showers and a couple storms Saturday and Sunday. We'll get to that. But the Lyriad meteor shower, that peaks tomorrow night into Sunday morning. I think we'll have enough breaks in the clouds. You should get a pretty good shot at it. You can look to the northeast for those, but you're pretty much going to see them anywhere. So just find some dark areas. Get away from the city lights if you can. More storms are expected Sunday afternoon than Saturday afternoon. Yet Monday will be our best chance to see showers and storms across the area. Downtown Tampa, Davis Islands, TGH right there in the middle. Pretty nice out there right now, 81 degrees. Dew points dropped a degree in the past hour. That's not a lot, but I mention it because we have that cold front coming through. The front sitting right about here, although it's fallen apart, and you can't really tell temperature-wise that we had a front come through. 83 in Riverview, 83 in Land O'Lakes, 81 in Brooksville. So that's not a big temperature change at all. Dew point, yeah, you can see a little bit of a change. That's what really lets you know it's a different air mass. This air mass here has dew points in the 60s, a little bit more warmer and muggier. That has dew points in the 50s. That's definitely a different air mass. Problem is, that's not pushing southward. We're going to basically stay right about where we are. No rain with the front today, so the radar is dry. There's the frontal boundary. In fact, not a lot of clouds with the front either, so we're going to stay mainly clear for tonight. Falling down through the 70s for your Friday night. Nice and dry out there, staying mild. Upper 60s to near 70 for a low for tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow, as I mentioned, the first half of the day looks good. We get around lunchtime and you're north of I-4. A quick sprinkle can't be ruled out. That's overdone. But you see this? This is 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, perhaps even after 4. We'll be watching for it. But that's a couple of showers firing up right along the sea breeze that's going to be right along and west of I-75. And that'll go through the evening hours. So that's the Kenny Chesney forecast that we're going to have to watch for a couple of showers. Again, the first thing, best buddies in the mornings looks good. Now, Sunday morning, fantastic, no problems there. Sunday afternoon, this is about 3 o'clock. Still looking good, but watch what happens right after that. Yeah, Reg. Get that time in early.
That's right.
So you get off the course, and the 19th hole is looking fine, regardless of what's doing outside. Right. And that looks pretty good, but we are looking at a slightly better chance for showers and storms Sunday afternoon. And then on Monday, we've got this big system coming across the deep south. It's going to pull some rain through here, and so I think Monday is actually our best chance to see rain altogether. So tomorrow's planner will go about 84 degrees, about a 30 to 40% chance in the afternoon. Severe weather's not a threat. That's today. This is tomorrow. And then you see we're just in this area where we're going to see some thunderstorms. So I'm not worried about severe weather. I do think we'll be slightly warmer and a better chance for rain on Sunday. We'll go up to about 50%. But again, it's in the afternoon. Just think summer, because that's kind of almost a typical summer pattern. Monday's the best chance at 80%. Tuesday, I'm knocking it down to about 20%. That's it. And then you can see we're in the upper 70s to low 80s and basically dry for the end of next week.
Great Day Live hosts Kendall Kirkham and Michael Clayton serve some time, but for a good cause today.
Well, you gotta put on a go to jail look. Okay. Right here. Okay. From smiles to go to jail.
I wanted to get a picture with you. I forgot.
Oh man.
Take him away.
Oh my goodness.
Look at Clayton trying to look tough, trying to look hood.
Oh goodness. So Steve and Julie Weintraub hosted the Jail and Bail at Charlie's Steakhouse, which benefits wheelchairs for kids. They were the judges and the kids were the jurors. All the felons, like Kendall and Michael, had to serve time and call some friends for some bail money. Wheelchairs for Kids is a nonprofit that provides wheelchairs and other devices to little ones who need them.
Now, from your Suncoast Hyundai dealers, this is 10 Sports.
Yo, Reg. I know you're a gym rat.
Absolutely.
You could do this, right?
One hand.
Yeah, easily.
That's nothing.
I've showed you James Harrison workout videos before. This dude's a freak, man. That's like $125 right there, and he's just lifting it up like it's a pillow.
About what you weigh, right?
Yeah, it's about what it is. We're like, hey, watch it over there. Recently retired, still putting in the work in the gym. We've seen Jameis Winston working out this offseason, but right now he's enjoying his offseason, the rest he has of it. He was in the 305 last night. Yeah. Check it out. He, Mike Evans, their significant others, taking in the Heat game courtside. I'm a bit jealous, being a big Heat fan, but those seats about $7,000 a piece, a little out of my pay grade here. Much cheaper, though, to attend a Bolts game rinkside. We know Jameis is fond of his blue sweater there. Don't be surprised if you see him in the house for Game 5 tomorrow. He actually said that he hit up his ticket guy this week for tickets. I wish I had a ticket guy on speed dial. Bolts and Brandon this morning getting some work in before tomorrow's Game 5. Ryan Callahan, a full participant in practice. He is, however, a game-time decision. Rest is the reward if the captain and company can close this thing out tomorrow.
We know that this is the toughest game to win, that fourth game. So we have past experience. We know we want to finish it off at home, and we know they want to get back home. So it's going to be the toughest one.
If you have a chance to win a series early, do it. It's all about just trying to get the rest. And if you have this opportunity, you hope to take advantage of it.
In order for them to do that, though, Andrei Vasilevsky has to keep this area clean tomorrow afternoon. The Vezina Trophy finalist, he's been the Bolts MVP all season long, especially here in the playoffs. I had a chance to talk to a Bolts TV analyst, Brian Engblom, today, to ask him why Vasi's been just so special. He's that type that he wants to be the best, completely the best in the game, not just one of the best. He's driven to be like that. You can tell when you're around him a little bit and you just watch him in practice and the way he reacts to things, the way he does practice, the physical fitness level that he has, all of that stuff, his preparation. He's up for the Vezina Trophy, and I think he deserves to win it.
We'll find out if he will this summer. As for the Rays, Kevin Kiermaier, just a little update on him. He did undergo successful thumb surgery today, is going to be out until July. Now, his Rays are welcoming the Twins to town for a little series, which means this guy is back here in Tampa Bay, an old friend, Jake Odorizzi. You guys remember him? Not sure yet if he's going to pitch in the series, but he did say he will show up to the ballpark tomorrow in his Bolts jersey. All right. Still lives here in Tampa. Of course, little Team Tampa there. Game 5 tomorrow afternoon, by the way. We'll have all your coverage here on 10.
I like Odo. He's a good man.
There he is.
Ryan, don't go too far.
Okay.
This is going to make you smile on Friday. It's a way to get into the weekend. Just the words, water skiing squirrel, has to put a smile on your face.
Yeah, it does. You have one last chance to see Twiggy before he retires this summer. Poor
There he
little
goes.
thing.
Yes.
Look at the little light that's on Twiggy. Star of the 36th annual Suncoast Boat Show. He's a rock star. We've been talking about and showing clips of Twiggy for years. This one isn't the first Twiggy now. He's actually the 8th one. Don't know what happened to the other 7.
Oh, wait. Okay.
But it's time for this one to retire. So make the farewell tour if you can.
All right. That
Have
doesn't
a good
get
night
old.
and do take care.
When severe weather threatens,